Good afternoon and good evening, all. Welcome to the Wednesday, the Hump Day edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras in California. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Craig. Guess what day it is?
Guess what day it is?
It's Hump Day!
Hump Day!
Welcome to the Rundown. My name is Mike.
What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
Yep, there it is.
Love that. My name is Mike Borski. I am your co-host for the day here on The Rundown, coming to you from the East Coast, the coast with the most. And I am here to do whatever is necessary to get the message out.
So how are we doing today, sir?
Oh, not too bad. Hump Day. It's the start of the weekend here for me, right? I try to get into weekend, at least the brain set, the mind mode. That the rest of the week is just the downhill part, or the backside of the week. And as I look at my calendar, it's booked up about 18 hours tomorrow and about 14 hours on Friday. So it's going to be a great weekend.
It's the hardest thing in the world to work in December because it seems like people start taking like time off earlier and earlier. It's like really hard to get a hold of people during the Christmas season.
I'm sitting yesterday. It's probably about 3:00 yesterday afternoon. I'm sitting in an office waiting to have a meeting with someone, and the secretary or the administrative assistant, whatever the proper title is now, says, "So are you ready for Christmas yet?" And I just went, "That's right. Christmas is coming up, isn't it?" It's just no clue. I'm just driving on like it's a regular day. I know the holidays are coming. I know it's December, but it was just like, glad somebody's thinking about it because I'm not. I got work to do.
It is what it is. I definitely hear you. I definitely hear you, sir. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get into today's stories. All right. So our first story of the day, it really hits home here in California because we've had politicians on the left basically absolutely totally denying the fact that crime actually exists. I mean, California is one of the home bases for the whole smart on crime epidemics that we've seen. And when I say epidemic, what I'm referring to is the amount of crime that has actually started to take place once we've started, releasing criminals out on the streets and decriminalizing crime. Well, a lot of this stuff has come from some of America's leading universities. We're talking Columbia, we're talking University of Chicago, and even UC Berkeley, places like that where they're talking about, being smart on crime. But they seem to be changing their tune, in particular when crime hits their universities. And that's the subject of a commentary that's there at the New York Post, referring to a number of incidences where there has been major crime, and we're talking violent crime, that has taken place at some of America's leading universities, and all of a sudden, Mike, they're changing their tune on the whole, how we should handle crime thing.
Craig, this is the whole not in my backyard thing, right? This is exactly what it is. They have lowered the standards for retaining criminals. They have lowered or raised the threshold for arresting criminals, lowered the standards for keeping them in jails, and thought that would be okay. There would be no problem because we want to be social justice warriors. We want to make sure that these poor people can get out there and vote because they've been given a bad break their whole lives. So we're going to do everything we can to help them. And what's happened, Craig, is the crime has walked across the street from the bad neighborhood into the good college. And there's been a couple of murders there in Columbia University in New York City, and as well as, like you said, University of Chicago, UC Berkeley. They're starting to see this. People said, well, we should move the colleges out of the bad neighborhoods. Well, the colleges, they do make the point that in order for the people to get the good education, to get the good resources, to do the research they need to do, they need to be in those densely populated areas. Well, guess what? I think it's okay to have a densely populated area that's not a murder city, all right? Because I don't know, I live in one. It's we've got laws and we respect them. We don't allow criminals to walk free and do what they want to do. It's gotten worse in New York City over the past 8 years with De Blasio, right? He's doing whatever he wants to do there. In fact, hold on, let me see here. I got the numbers, I got the stats. Since 2019, the precinct around Columbia has seen shootings triple, assaults rise by nearly 60%. Hate crimes are up 800%. Well, that's because everything's now a hate crime, according to De Blasio.
Right.
If you happen to be black and the other person happens to be white, it's a hate crime no matter what it is.
No matter what.
Literally, no matter what. If you broke into somebody's car and took their wallet off the front seat, and it was later found out that the victim was black, it's now a hate crime. They've taken away anything to distinguish a hate crime from a crime against a different race.
Yeah.
So,
well, but what a lot of this once again goes to point to is the fact that, it's just like anything else, and people are people. And if you remove consequences for doing bad things, then there's a percentage of people out there who are going to do those bad things, and they're going to keep doing them, and they're going to get progressively worse until you say stop, and you give them consequences for doing those bad things. I don't understand why. This is not rocket science. This is just common sense. I mean, anybody who's ever raised a child knows that this is the case. This is simply human nature. And there's a reason why things like the broken windows theory was so successful in cutting crime in New York. There's a reason why we saw 20 years of constantly crime going down in the state of California before Kamala Harris became our Attorney General. And that was because we passed things like 3 strikes, mandatory minimums. We basically got tough on crime. And all of a sudden, the criminals said, you know what? California is not a business-friendly environment for us. And so they stopped committing, or at least they were committing less crime in the state of California. And as we've become more business-friendly to criminals, well, the criminals are, business is booming.
yeah, and that's the crux of the story right here is that those crimes have been occurring in those poor neighborhoods now. Listen, we know what's going on in Chicago, right? It's been crime on crime or criminal versus criminal there for years and years and years, and nobody cares. If they started shooting pretty white girls or politicians' kids, then it would be an issue. But otherwise, nobody cares, and that's kind of the underlying situation there. But now that these crimes are occurring in these destitute areas, these poor areas, these areas filled with criminals, that they're overflowing into the rich college student areas, now it's become an issue. Remember, listen, we don't have a problem with that crime over there as long as it's not in my backyard. But now that it's in my backyard, we have an issue with it, and their policies must be wrong.
Well, that's interesting because a lot of people said that about no one really paid attention to the crack epidemic. But then all of a sudden now we've got heroin and opioids, which have crossed into the better neighborhoods. And all of a sudden now you've got a lot more people paying attention to those various epidemics. The thing, Mike, is the weirdest thing about these folks is they act as if they played no role
Right.
in any of this. Stuff coming out of these universities, these liberal politicians who's passed these policies, they act as if they played absolutely no role in why things are the way that they are. And the question is, are the voters going to hold them accountable?
Probably not, right? They're Democrats. They're liberals. They're going to give them the pass. They're going to find a way to blame Trump for it.
Oh yeah, somehow it's definitely going to be deemed as Trump's fault.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely right. Yeah,
yep. We already know that to be the case. And that then leads us into the next thing that's an interesting story that is going on. I don't know if you follow Dr. Oz. I'm not a big fan of Dr. Oz, but apparently he is running for Senate, and he is running for Senate as a Republican. But Mike, there's a fundamental problem with him running for office as a Republican, and that happens to be that Dr. Oz actually happens to be anti-gun. I mean, he says he's not. I mean, he says, "Oh, I support the Second Amendment." But now here's a guy who supports red flag laws. This is a guy who, once again, has supported the idea of a what's the word I'm looking for? He supports the idea of an assault weapons ban. He even perpetuates the lie that the CDC is not allowed to do research on self-defense of firearms or on firearms or use of firearms. The dude is just ignorant on the Second Amendment, and yet he's running for Senate in Pennsylvania, a state, Mike, that appears to be, at least from what all I'm seeing, pretty good supporters of the Second Amendment, or at least they're heading that way.
Yeah, listen, Pennsylvania's a great Second Amendment community. The problem is their governor is not.
Yeah.
They just their House and Senate just passed the constitutional carry, and the governor vetoed it. So they've got to work on getting rid of their governor, which is not that impossible to do. It's Pennsylvania is one of the borderline states when it comes to the governor's office. Yeah, listen, the problem with Dr. Oz running as a Republican, Craig, is Dr. Oz is not a Republican, right? He can say all he wants about the Second Amendment, that he supports it, but he's what we call a Second Amendment butt, right? Don't be a Second Amendment butt. I support the Second Amendment, but, not this part, but not that part. And all that sounds like to all of us out here, Craig, is, it sounds like he's saying, listen, I support due process, but not for black people. It's that ridiculous. I support for some, but not for others. That's how one-sided and two-faced that argument sounds when you say Second Amendment. But he's not a Republican. He should get no support from the GOP whatsoever, as long as that's his policies to enforce red flag laws, do an assault weapon ban. You know what that makes him? A Democrat.
Right. Well, but here's the problem is that for some reason in the Republican Party, the Republican establishment has fallen in love with the idea of celebrity and supporting a celebrity running for office. And
wait, do you not remember President Trump? Do you not remember President Trump? How much dissent is there now? Maybe they just want a new celebrity. They want a different celebrity.
Well, exactly. Well, see, that's the other thing is they want a Democrat who has an R after his name and is on TV or in movies like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
That's what they want. Yeah.
I think this story should be the name of the story should be beware he's not a Republican. Dr. Oz is not a Republican.
So then the question is going to be, are Republicans in Pennsylvania stupid enough to vote for him?
Well, I wouldn't want to call Republicans in Pennsylvania stupid, but there is the opportunity to put another Republican in there. Now, I'm not sure what the seat looks like in Pennsylvania. Is he running against another Democrat, or is he trying to primary out another Republican?
I don't know what the election is going to look like right now. So I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure what the election is going to look like. So,
yeah, those are the bigger questions for me. If he's running against a Democrat, is he the lesser of two evils? Does he flip the vote from 50-50 to 49-51?
Well, you got to imagine that. The question number one is going to be: you're right? Is there going to be a primary? That's going to be that's one question. Then the next question is who currently holds the seat, and is the seat going to go to? Are we going to then be getting that person out? I mean, he might wind up being the Republican nominee, and he may be better than the Democrat.
Right. So that's the question: does he get us a net gain of one in the Senate?
Yes, and that's going to really kind of be about it. Yeah. I'm just hoping that he's not the nominee for Pennsylvania's sake.
Right. There you go.
All righty. I don't know why I keep switching over to you.
It's my beautiful face.
All right. So you and I know, there's this thing called biology. And Whoopi Goldberg had said something dealing with or speaking from the perspective of biology, dealing with who can have children. And I'll share the story with you. So you had Whoopi, who, okay, let me get this. Okay. So you had Whoopi Goldberg basically says that men can't carry a fetus, right? Whoopi Goldberg said that while she was on The View. Now, the funny part about it is that, we know that to be the case. We know that only biological women can carry a fetus or can have a baby. But she caught a lot of stuff from conservative pundits who basically accused her of being transphobic because as Democrats believe, they'll tell you in a minute that no, men can carry a fetus. Trans men, that is.
I've it's so hard to recall, Craig, the difference between what I've seen in a movie and what I've seen in real life. I want to say, and I think I made this mistake once before, that a man could carry a child in the womb, but then it ended up being a Schwarzenegger movie, I think. That somebody pointed out to me that I'd quoted some facts from a movie, and I was like, "Whoops, sorry, I must have been sleepy watching that one." So, I don't know. Can they? I mean, listen, there's obviously no, they don't have the right parts down there. But there's, I mean, I would think you can't even plug in temporarily, to sustain. It's not like I'm taking care of your pet for you, just where everything's external. But so she went pretty much off and off the rails. I guess she had not read the LGBT stance on this before. She went kind of crazy on the air on this one.
Well, no, I don't know if she went crazy on the air or that she forgot the line. I think you're right, the line that she's supposed to spout.
Right.
And I don't understand why this is so controversial. I mean, I think when I say controversial, why is it that if she had been a conservative, if she had been a Republican who said that on a TV show like that, they would have lit into her. There is no doubt in my mind that they would have gone after her. But
right.
Anyway, it's more humorous just because, I never thought a day would come when we have to, actually debate stuff like this. That,
right.
Women have babies.
Again, I come back to the Dave Chappelle argument, right? You're born with one set of goods, or you're born with the other. That's
right.
That's it. There's really you could call yourself, like he said, a Chinese person all you want. That doesn't mean
right.
that the equipment you came with is any different.
It doesn't. You may change the packaging, but that doesn't change anything else.
Yep.
And
exactly right.
Anyway, it's just funny because liberals, the liberals in general are just this conglomerate of people and ideas that are just kind of all of them are kind of very fringe, and they all come together so that they can basically go after or attack conservatism. But
right.
they're really, in many cases, they have agendas that work contrary to one another, and they don't always agree with everything that's there, even though they say it. But you get times like this where the truth actually of where they stand actually kind of creeps out, and you get a chance to to laugh at their hypocrisy, shall we say?
Yeah, right. And like you just pointed out, where's the opposition to her? How come she hasn't been torn down? How come she hasn't been shredded? The hypocrisy of the media, the hypocrisy of even the LGBT community, right? And I think LBG whatever. I don't want to step on it wrong.
Yeah, I stop at Q. I'm like,
remember that about 4 or 5 months ago, they went after RuPaul for being transphobic. And it was like, what? I mean, because RuPaul wasn't LGBTQ enough for them, and I'm like, are you kidding? This is, the only, the reason that you have any publicity at all is from what he did, 10, 20 years ago, and is still doing these days. And I think maybe they learned that lesson too. Perhaps we don't attack our own as aggressively, with this Whoopi thing. They know that Whoopi's going to be on their team 90% of the time. Maybe they're giving her the pass on this 10%.
Right. Well, and once again, I don't know why we can't just admit, I don't know, biological facts. The funny part is that we're the ones that are accused of being science deniers.
Yes. Right. Oh, that's crazy.
I don't know how that works, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, moving right along. All right, so Whole Foods, who is known as, Whole Foods is left of the left of the left of the left, right? Well, Whole Foods is actually in trouble right now. The U.S. labor prosecutors allege that Whole Foods illegally banned employees from wearing Black Lives Matter face masks and apparel. Now, mind you, Whole Foods has a policy of not allowing their employees to wear anything, any sort of apparel with sayings or quotes or anything on them. And by the way, that includes Black Lives Matter. So it wasn't like they just singled out Black Lives Matter. They literally just are like, yeah, no, we don't do that with anybody. And so now they are in fact in trouble for doing just that. And I don't know, Mike. It just seems kind of. It's funny because if they were wearing MAGA masks, no one would care. The U.S. labor prosecutors wouldn't care about anything. But because it was BLM, all of a sudden now they're going after their own Whole Foods.
No, hold on. Let me see that page again there, Craig. Let me take a look at that page again real quick. Let me point something out here. U.S. labor prosecutors alleged that Whole Foods illegally banned employees from wearing Black Lives Matter. Okay, so they illegally banned them from wearing it. So they say the U.S. labor is saying that Whole Foods can, or that they cannot ban their employees from wearing it. So the employees can wear Black Lives Matter items.
That's what they're saying. They're saying they should have been allowed to wear it.
Should have been allowed to wear it. Here's what I found doing this little bit of research on them. Did you know the U.S. labor, or whatever this department is not an official government agency? It's one of those appointed agencies by the government to do work. To do it independently. It's kind of like the Federal Reserve, right? It's not a government agency. They just pretend to be one, much like the post office as well.
It is funny that you say that because I did not know that.
Yes. It's I guess, by the way, where they're headquartered at.
San Francisco?
San Francisco. Yes, they are.
Yeah. San Francisco.
Headquartered in San Francisco. So you got San Francisco agency going after San Francisco company.
The liberal capital of the world is San Francisco Bay Area.
Yep. And I'm going to give you two guesses who may have appointed the officials there in San Francisco to be part of this. Now, it was from the Biden administration, but guess who was really the one that put them in there?
Oh, Barack Obama?
This is one of the only things that Kamala Harris has actually done was put the names forward for these people.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, there you go. That pretty much explains it. I don't get where they come off saying you can't control what people wear when they are at work. No, folks, you don't get a right to freedom of speech at work. You don't.
Yep.
I hate to say this, but you are on someone else's dime. You are representing them and their establishment, and they get to determine what you can and what you cannot wear. And if you don't like it, quit.
Yep.
Or get fired.
They had this one company that I work with, a government contractor, and they have strict standards, OSHA requirements, not OSHA requirements. I always forget the export import requirements code, but I'm sorry, the ICAO, and they had it going on there where one week you had somebody wear a BLM shirt, right? And somebody objected. So the next day they wore an All Lives Matter shirt. Then the next day there were MAGA hats. And by the end of the week, it was chaos on the floor. And so the company over the weekend wrote a new policy that said the only shirts that will be allowed will be company logoed shirts and hats. And by the way, Monday morning, they were all available to the employees. They went, here you go. Here's your new shirts. Here's your new hats. You're only allowed to wear company branded logo. And they solved it just like that.
Right.
I don't know how Whole Foods doesn't say, here's a T-shirt that says Whole Foods on it. Now go put your apron on. That's it. You're only allowed to wear company logos. That's it.
They already had a policy that had no logos at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you get into that, I don't see how this organization can legally tell you what you can and can't do. If you work for a company, then that's it. Craig, that's like I don't know, if you play for the Dallas Cowboys, but you wear a Rams pin on your shirt because, it used to be your team growing up. You just, what are we doing here?
Right.
You don't get to pick and choose. It's our company. If you don't want to wear our logo, then there's plenty of other companies out there you can go work for.
Right. You don't go on CNN wearing a Fox News T-shirt if you work for CNN.
I think Chris Cuomo would do it. Evidently, he'd do anything for money right now.
He's looking for a job right now.
Good old Fredo. They're sending him out to Tahoe to take a look at the operation out there.
Hey, he's probably going to be on the California side.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
keep him on the California side. And by the way, speaking of California, getting to our parting shot today. This one's going to be
wait! Before we go parting, I got an update from one of our intern slash viewers. Dr. Oz is running in Pat Toomey's spot, Senator Pat Toomey, who's not running for re-election. So it's an open Republican seat that'll be running.
Nice.
That he'll be running
Okay.
for.
Well, I'd rather get a real Republican in that seat.
Yeah, and the notes that I have real quick are that so far there's like 80 people that have announced for that position. So they're
Okay.
running
Well,
for it.
he's probably the most visible. I mean, dude was already doing like the Fox News, the CNNs. I mean, he's already doing like the national tour, running for the Senate in Pennsylvania. I mean, the mainstream media is giving him so much free publicity.
Sure, they are.
It's going to be kind of hard. It's going to be kind of hard for anybody to be as visible as him, at least outside of the state of Pennsylvania. Let's hope that in the state of Pennsylvania there are some more worthy opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we'll have to get with our contacts in Pennsylvania. We got a couple of good ones up there with the the Allegheny Sportsman Association and the Trigger Pressers Union, number one, up there. So
we're gonna have to get them on and talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah.
So when talking about California, so in California, we passed a law back in, it was a Proposition 47, that said that anything stolen had to be anything with a value of $950 or less was considered a misdemeanor. And basically, most of the district attorneys in California will not prosecute you for a misdemeanor. They're not prosecuting misdemeanors hardly at all. Or if they do, it's like a slap on the wrist. You get like a ticket and show up to court. Well, there was a store owner. I do not know if this meme is true, but if it is hysterical. And so what he did was he priced all of his stuff at $951. Now, obviously, I'm sure he offers like discount codes for everything, but with everything priced at $951, if anyone steals even a candy bar,
that's it.
Then they will be prosecuted.
That's it. I listen, I could see this working too. Listen, how much is that candy bar? $951. Unless you're a member of our coupon club. Are you a member of our coupon club? Yes, sir. Well, then you get $949 off.
There you
go. you buy one, get $950 for free.
Oh, but we need more of this. That would be incredibly innovative. I really do, and I didn't have time to take a look and see if it was actually for real. But I will be looking it up. But that's the sort of innovation that we have to deal with, that we have to have in order to be able to continue to live here in the state of California. Got to learn to be creative, bro. Got to learn to be creative.
Yeah, and listen, I think legally, this works, right? He sets the price, right?
Right.
At no time could I ever recall a theft case where a prosecutor or judge said, "Well, how much did you pay for it? How much is the real value?" No. Here's the price. It's posted. That's the price.
That's the posted price.
It might be above fair market value
without a discount code.
Yeah,
that's what you're gonna pay.
Unless you see that everywhere. I mean, the grocery store I go to does the they have, what do they call it, the I don't know, whatever their loyalty club is.
Right, but you give them your phone number.
Yeah, you go in there and the steak's $10. Unless you give them your phone number, then it's $6. It's just okay. I don't know why we play this weird game. Does anybody ever fall for this? Does everybody not registered? It's pretty simple. But
I have no idea.
Good for this guy. Good for this.
How about a shout out to our sponsor, sir?
Yes, let's say hello to Gorilla Machining, Grid Defense, and our good friends fighting the fight at the California Republican Assembly.
Folks, make sure you visit them, visit our sponsors, let them know that the folks over at The Rundown sent you. They're all quality companies and organizations doing what they can to help keep America free. So check them out, buy their products, become a member, whatever you got to do. Oh, also remember, please like, share, and subscribe this program. Tell your friends about The Rundown. This is the place to get 2A news with conservative views. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, which is Thirsty Thursday. So I guess we'll be with you same bat time, same bat
channel. Right? We got Taco Tuesday, where we want you to go get some tacos. Thirsty Thursday, where we want you to go get some drinks. So today's hump day. Go out there and get some,
Yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. You guys take care. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.